All right, I'm here at Omaha, Nebraska at the Memorial Park, and check out this view. This park is absolutely beautiful. As you go behind there, there's a lot of amazing things. Number two, I'm wearing sunglasses in this one because it's very bright outside. We've got concrete reflecting up. I think this is the only second video on this trip that I've had to wear sunglasses though. Let me give you a quick look at what this view is on the other side because we're up on this hill. Check this out. It's just a beautiful park. Down in these group of trees, there's a bunch of flowers. Down here, there are flowers. Off the back, there are flowers. If you were to go back behind there, super pretty. Here is where I'm going to make this video because you didn't come here to see pretty things. You came here to learn about how Medicare works in Nebraska. So let's talk about that. First off, you've got some major carriers, insurance companies that are based in Omaha. Omaha is in their name. I won't call anybody out specifically, but I think that kind of gives a little bit of it away. The fact that they are here doesn't mean that you necessarily get any special rules, but you have some very strong insurance presences here in Nebraska. Now, when we talk about Medicare, let's split this up into supplement plans and advantage plans, and we'll start with supplement plans first. Nationally, if somebody were 65 years old and they were looking to go with a supplement plan, the average would be $150 for a Plan G. Here in Nebraska, your average is $150, so you're right there with the national averages. For Plan N and a 65-year-old, the average would be around $120. Here in Nebraska, it's about $110. So what you do see here is a little bit bigger gap than the average nationally around Plan G and Plan N, and with Plan N being a little bit lower than national averages. Now, these are averages, so you will see plans that are higher, you will see plans that are lower, but those are the averages for you. Now, with those costs being where they are, at least the averages, there are opportunities to find additional discounts here. So when we talk about supplement plans, there are insurance companies that are willing to offer discounts, and I'll talk about three of them. One of them is called a household discount. So if me and my spouse are both on a supplement plan with the same insurance company, there are insurance companies that will say, you know what, we're going to give you a discount because both of you in the household are with us. Another discount would be called a wearable discount. That's if you're willing to wear a smartwatch like a Garmin, a Fitbit, maybe an iWatch, and sync that with the insurance company's website. They're willing to give you a discount because now they can see that you're active and you're exercising. A third discount that you could look for is called an annual discount. If you're willing to pay your premiums all up front for the entire year rather than just month to month, there are insurance companies that are willing to give you a discount. And with all of these, there are some insurance companies that will let you stack those discounts on top of each other to drive your rates even lower. Now, this is important. I talk about this in all of these videos. Use an agent who's licensed and familiar with your state so that you can find insurance companies that will start with rates that meet your budget. There will be insurance companies that are creditable, will have consistent rate increases rather than fluctuating all over the board. And then finally, an agent can help you find these discounts. If you go straight direct to an insurance company, they aren't going to tell you about their competitors that are offering discounts or what their rates are going to be. So an insurance agent helps you shop all of those out. It never costs you anything. I'm not even saying that you need to use us. Just use an agent who can help you with this. If you do want our help, I do have partners who are licensed and familiar here in Nebraska, but we'll get to that. Supplement plans here are attained age plans. Now, there are three ways that supplement plans are typically rated. The lowest to start is attained age plans. Then you have issue age plans and community rated that kind of go up in costs. But all of these will have at least one increase, and that increase is coming because of rising healthcare costs and inflation, and depends on how that insurance company in particular is performing. So all three rating systems have that increase each year. Now, attained age plans will also have another increase based on your age that you have attained. So if I go on Medicare at 65 and I take a supplement plan, when I have a birthday at 66, I've attained a new age. So they give me what I sarcastically refer to as a happy birthday increase, where they're going to bump your rates a little bit. So with attained age plans, you can see up to 2 increases per year as opposed to 1 increase per year on the other plans. But again, attained age plans start at the lowest rate typically, and then the other plans go up from there. Now, you're in attained age state, which means the plans that you have access to are attained age plans. You follow the same national rules when it comes to switching supplement plans. So in general, if we're talking about, let's say I'm on a supplement plan G and my rates have increased faster than the other insurance companies in my area, and I wanted to switch, I still want plan G, but I want to go from the insurance company I'm with to a different insurance company. Well, the rule around that is that you would have to go through medical underwriting, which means you would have to answer medical questions. If your health is good, you shouldn't have a problem. If your health is poor, then you could be charged higher than normal rates or be denied completely on that switch over to the new plan. Another use case would be if I'm on a plan G and maybe that's more benefits than I need and it's more expensive, and I want to switch down to a plan N, same thing, you would still need to go through medical underwriting. So that's kind of the national rule that is followed here in Nebraska. This is just switching supplement plan to supplement plan. There are different rules around Advantage plans that I'll get to in the Advantage plan section. Now, nationally, the market penetration rate for supplement plans, meaning how many people choose supplement plans as opposed to Advantage plans or other options, nationally the average is 21%. That's all supplement plan letters. Here in Nebraska, you're at 45%. You're one of the highest states in the country in terms of the supplement plan penetration rate. This isn't me saying that you should or shouldn't go with a supplement plan, it's just the numbers that we see here in Nebraska. The last thing to mention here on the supplement plan side of the conversation would be for those of you who qualify for Medicare before 65. So this is because you're disabled, have end-stage renal disease or ESRD, you have ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. So you can get Medicare before 65 in that instance. In most states, there's really not a lot of protection here. Either you cannot get a supplement plan, period, or you're limited to specific letters, and they could be a lot higher than for somebody who is 65. Nebraska, you kind of fall in that realm. You have plan A, and it's going to be expensive. So there's not a lot of protection here pre-65. So you could spend a lot and get a plan A, or you could go with original Medicare only, or you could get an Advantage plan. Or if you have employer coverage, either through your own employer or through a spouse's employer, you could coordinate Medicare with that employer coverage. Outside of that, that's kind of your options there pre-65. Now, when you reach 65, you have all of the letters open up to you, and you're going to be charged the same amount as any other 65-year-old. So that is a positive, but pre-65, you don't have a lot of options here. Now let's move over to the Advantage plan side of the conversation. A big number that we look at here is the maximum out of pocket, your maximum risk in a given year. The national average is $5,000. Here in Nebraska, it is $4,500. Again, this is an average. You will find plans that are higher, plans that are lower, but that's the average. In general, when we're looking at Advantage plans across the country, in higher populated areas, you have more competition between insurance companies, which means you typically have more access to Advantage plans and stronger plan options. The more rural you get, in general, there are exceptions, but the more rural you get, then the fewer options that you have to choose from, and the benefits aren't quite the same. The provider networks are just different. Same holds here in Nebraska. So depending on where you're at, bigger cities like Omaha will have a lot more options than much smaller cities that are rural and not close to hospital system. Nationally, the penetration rate for Advantage plans is 50%. Here in Nebraska, it's 32.5%, so quite a bit lower than the national average, and it's one of the lower states. It's not the lowest, and it's not in the top 5, but it is one of the lower states in terms of the market penetration rate for Advantage plans. A big part of that, again, is the rural nature of much of Nebraska. Now, I alluded to this earlier, but switching from an Advantage plan to a supplement plan gets a little bit weird, and there are 4 areas to talk about. 2 of those are trial rights. So the trial rights refer to your ability to try an Advantage plan, switch back to original Medicare and a supplement plan with no medical underwriting. Remember, those are those questions that we're asking people where they could get denied or charged higher rates. So the first trial right is if you go on Medicare at your 65th birthday and you take an Advantage plan. Both of those are important. At your 65th birthday and you take an Advantage plan. In that instance, you have a 12-month window where you can try out the Advantage plan. If you don't like it, you can switch back to original Medicare and a supplement plan with no medical underwriting. The second trial right is if you go on Medicare, and this can be at any age. So let's say I'm 70 years old and I go on Medicare for the first time, I take a supplement plan first. If in the future, at some point, I want to try an Advantage plan, I can switch off of the supplement plan and onto the Advantage plan, and then I have a 12-month window to try it out. Within that 12 months, if I want to switch back to original Medicare and my supplement plan, I can do that without medical underwriting. The third way you can switch back to original Medicare and a supplement plan without any medical underwriting is if you're in a special election period. Now, there are a bunch of these. If you want to know all of them, there's a site on Medicare.gov. I can link to the page there, but the most common is if you've moved outside of your Advantage plan's coverage area. So I live in Omaha, and now I move out of the coverage area of my Advantage plan, then you can switch back to original Medicare and a supplement plan with no medical underwriting. Outside of that, you're going to go through medical underwriting if you're wanting to switch, and the timing of that is important because you need a valid disenrollment period to get back onto original Medicare and a supplement plan. What that means is that there's a special election period that we talk about. That's a valid disenrollment period. The annual enrollment period that goes from October to December of every year, that is a valid disenrollment period from an Advantage plan and to get back on original Medicare. And then those changes go into effect on January 1st. So even if you make a change in October, it's going to go into effect in January 1st. The last period would also be the open enrollment period that runs from January to the end of March of every year. So those are kind of periods where you're able to switch off of an Advantage plan and onto Original Medicare. Outside of these periods, you're not going to be able to get it back. And then you're going to want to time this all around your Part D coverage as well, which is your drug coverage. Advantage plans typically come with drug coverage. So now if I'm getting off of my Advantage plan, going on Original Medicare and a supplement plan, I need to be able to pick up a standalone Part D plan, which you can only do during certain times of the year. So you're going to want to make sure you time this right. Again, with supplement plans, Advantage plans, make sure you're using an agent to help you with this. We can help if you'd like. Even if you don't want our help, use an agent. It could be our competitors. Just use somebody who is licensed with both supplement plans and Advantage plans. They're independent. They're not with one specific insurance company, and they'll be able to help you out really well. I like to leave a secret code word at the end of these videos just to show you've made it this far. If you leave this in the comments, then I can take the comments a little bit more seriously because I know you've made it to the end. I'm in Nebraska. I learned that the biggest industry in Nebraska is the beef industry and the steaks that they have here. So whether you're vegan or vegetarian or you will eat meat, I'm not really making a stance there, but if you leave anything related to beef in the description of this video, then that'll be our secret that you've made it this far. And yeah, we'll go from there. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. It means more than you know. And my family and I are going to go explore Omaha a little bit more. I will see you in the next video.